Hi, I'm Colin Westman, and welcome to another episode of Special Talks. This week I'll be talking to noted bone-ologist Dr. Robert Papaya.
Yes, thank you for having me on your show. In fact, I was relieved to find out that you weren't yourself a skeleton, though I'm still suspicious.
Okay. I mean, I have a skeleton, but,
What do you mean, have a skeleton?
I mean, there's one beneath my skin.
Oh, you're joking. Don't joke about that.
Okay. I guess, first of all, I gotta ask, what exactly is a bone-ologist? I'm not sure I've heard that term used before.
Yes, well, technically I am both a doctor and a scientist. I have studied with my uncle in Sweden. We studied the skeletons that we would find in the woods and buried under his house. And from there I made a name for myself, studying bones and skeletons and skelebones and the such.
Okay. So what was it that first attracted you to skeletons in the first place?
Well, let me just make one thing perfectly clear. I hate and fear skeletons. Ever since I was a small boy, I feared them. However, it is this fear that has kept me alive. My interest in skeletons and boneology has been purely out of self-preservation, to keep myself alive, so to speak. And everything I have done has just been to stay alive. Because if you know your enemy, you can hide from him.
So you're saying your enemy is skeletons?
Yes,
But
skeletons are enemies to all men.
I'm not quite sure how they pose any sort of threat. I mean, they're kind of inanimate usually, aren't they? Sounds like from your
Let's
experiences.
just make a few things clear.
Okay.
1. I am not afraid of a dead skeleton.
Okay.
Not that there is such a thing.
I think that accounts for most of them.
Let's say if a living skeleton were to creep its way around that corner, shaking and jerking its bones around as if on strings or stop motion perhaps, I suppose I'd either have to run if the opportunity hit me or commit suicide on the spot. The terror would be far too great for me to handle.
So you actually think skeletons can move around and
Think.
from what
I
you
know.
say, I
What
guess.
do you think happens? Humans don't die. Their souls are simply ejected from the body forcefully by skeletons. From there, their soul will escape off into the atmosphere, into space, and they will spend the rest of eternity in the cold, dark forever. Their bodies back on Earth will have been in an instant replaced with a skeleton, multiple perhaps. So in other words, the human doesn't die, the skeleton merely replaces his body with a skeleton.
Okay, you're saying that when people die, their bodies are replaced with skeletons. That's.
To put it,
Do you have any evidence
Like-
of this? That
evidence.
yes, scientific
I've
evidence.
got all the evidence in the world. Since the invention of the human skeleton back in 1947, every single person that has died has been replaced with a skeleton in their likeness. and no one realizes it. No one knows.
Okay, well, I mean, you seem to be very knowledgeable about skeletons. I'm just gonna ask, you wouldn't happen to be an expert on, say, any other parts of the human body, like skin or organs and...
Please, please, I do not fill my brain with things that do not apply to my personal survival and knowledge of skeletons, such as the human body, as you said, or math, basic math.
Not a fan?
Does not matter.
Okay.
When you're running through the woods being chased by skeletons, it doesn't matter how much math you can do. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that you can run and you know where to hide.
So where do you hide when you're getting chased by skeletons?
Usually...
Are there ways to fend off skeletons?
Sometimes you can... Or if one happens to see you and decides that it wants your body, usually it's game over, so to speak. But they do sometimes have trouble climbing up trees, per se, or getting through locked doors, although they can eventually kick them down with their super skeleton strength.
Mm-hmm, of course.
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess one thing you're kind of famous for is recently you're trying to ban all skeletons from public schools.
Let's talk about this.
Okay, let's.
I'm sorry. I'm so thirsty. I was running before I got here, being chased by possibly a skeleton. But you never know.
You didn't look behind you to see.
I don't dare. You don't. Do you look into Medusa's eyes? I don't think so.
I guess not.
You run. Yes. Skeletons in schools. I have no objection to the teaching of skeletons to students. It is in their best interest to know as much as they can about their greatest fear and enemy. However, I do not agree with keeping live skeletons inside of classrooms. It is far too dangerous.
I mean, I don't know if those aren't real skeletons.
No, they're not real skeletons, but they're mighty close. They're very close, and they're not as strong as a real skeleton per se, but they can occasionally, if they so choose, get up and start chasing students around. Since the introduction of skeletons into public schools, teen suicide rates have gone up 200%. That is no coincidence. That is the skeletons. I should know. My whole family was tragically taken by skeletons and replaced with skeletons.
Well, that's tragic. I don't know.
Yes,
if I
thank
could
you.
actually
Thank you for
believe.
asking. It was a plane
I
crash.
didn't want to broach that subject. I thought it might be a little.
No, it's quite
might be a
interesting.
little sensitive for you.
A little exciting. Gets my fear going.
Your family died.
My
Is
family
excited to
died.
you?
Yes.
Okay.
It was
go
a
on.
plane crash.
Uh-huh.
Magnificent plane crash. Deep into the ocean, the plane sank. When they recovered the wrecked plane and looked inside, what did they find in the pilot's seat? They found a skeleton. It was a skeleton flying the plane the whole time. He crashed it into the ocean, and he replaced my entire family and the rest of the crew and passengers with other skeletons.
Wow, that's
Shocking.
very. I
Yes.
mean, that's kind of an ambitious act for these skeletons. That's like
It was
skeleton terrorism.
the 9/11 of skeletons.
Uh-huh.
And yet no one knew. No one cared. They didn't. They looked at the evidence and they chose to just keep on going with their ridiculous lives.
So you think there was a sort of cover-up?
Completely. completely. The government, they didn't want anyone to know that skeletons were even involved in the incident. They made no mention of them in any of the newspapers or reports. Quite horrible.
So you make it sound like this whole skeleton thing goes much deeper than just the knowledge you've been...
It goes all the way down and all the way up.
To the government, you think?
Top men are keeping this hidden from us.
Okay.
Top men. I've even heard the president's a skeleton, but who knows? I won't go into it.
I guess another thing that you came on here to talk specifically about was there's been some sort of incident that's come out that is impacting the skeleton community.
Yes. Strong community, I might add.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this up. It's something I really need to talk about.
Okay.
I'm quite embarrassed, actually. You see, I was working on a project, experimenting on a skeleton of mine, a specimen, and, well, to be frank, it somehow eluded me. The skeleton escaped my workshop when I wasn't looking, and he just got out. And I haven't seen him in days, and he could be anywhere. He could be in your homes or right in this studio. No.
Robert,
No.
I'm a skeleton.
You won't take me. You won't take me.
I'm gonna replace you with a skeleton.
Oh. Jesus. Okay, I guess this has been another episode of Special Talks. Yeah, I'm Colin Westman. I'll see you later.
I'm a skeleton.